Good morning. My name is Charlotte Sands, and today I have chosen my persuasive speech on genetically modified organisms, also known as GMOs. So I have chosen the general purpose just to inform about GMOs with the specific that why they need to decrease in our use. I chose the central idea to be that the use of genetically modified organism foods needs to decrease and the use of organic foods needs to increase. So after a survey, a median of 48% say that genetically modified organisms are bad, while only 13% said that it's good. So that is a very big difference between the good and the bad. While many people do not know, many people know what GMOs are, that they're genetically modified organisms and like kind of their role, a lot of people do not understand the consequences that can come from GMOs. For our health and the survival of crops and all the other things, they need to be reduced. After much research, I have found very credible information about genetically modified organisms that I 100% agree that provides proof that GMOs are unsafe for our use. Genetically modified organisms have consequences that kind of have like a domino effect. As you apply them to the crops, then it just like affects one thing after another, and that's something that needs to be considered. So it leaves them vulnerable to disease, leading them to die, and which is something that we don't want for our crops. So there was kind of an introduction, and now let's get into more of the details of it. So when GMOs are used on crops, they have many effects on that and the consumers. They lower the biodiversity of the crops, which means they have they're more vulnerable to disease or bad weather. The consumers can be affected by diseases, and there was things that talked about cancer and other diseases that mainly just farmers who worked with GMOs, but being around can also, if you're in that air with them for that long, it can also barely affect us. And there's not enough research yet to see if they do anything to us when we eat them. So what can we do to protect our crops and our health? So we need to be intentional about buying organic and consuming organic produce. So I brought a cucumber from our garden. We have not really a big garden, but we have a garden in our backyard. And when we eat straight from that garden, we know it's organic. And so we know we're not putting anything in our bodies that we don't need to. So if we buy all organic foods, that limits the amount of GMOs that will be used as a whole. And if we do not buy them and we don't eat them, then we don't have a chance to get sick from them. So I think we need to be more intentional about what we eat and what we put in our bodies. And I think we need to do that as a whole, but especially with GMOs because they have a huge effect on us. So in conclusion, GMOs have effects that we don't always see at first. We just see it as spraying on the crops to make them different. But they cause a lot of vulnerability that leads to death of many crops, leaving us with no produce for us to eat because they've died because of GMOs. So what can you do? You can buy produce from organic farms, and that you're protecting yourself, the crops, and the environment. So by just eating organically, you're really saving 3 different things that are very important for the earth to be what it is. And I used the sources from biotechnology, consequences of GMOs for biodiversity, and GMOs and pesticides, helpful or harmful, in Science in the News, and then a part from a research center. So I hope you enjoyed my thing. watching, and thank you.